Good morning, students. And today's lecture, what I am doing is on production of ethanol. And I hope you remember that ethanol has a long history. The word the ethanol also was symbolizing in the previous days alcohol. The word alcohol is an Arabic derivation, like ancient Egypt papyrus and all. They have like documentation. They have scrolls which tells that how beer can be prepared with using dates and plant food. So the production of ethanol or the fermentation of alcohol is one of the oldest kinds and one of the oldest chemical technologies in the world. At those days only people knew that yeast is some kind of microorganism which can use the natural sources like fruits, vegetables, honey, molasses, grains like barley, and they can produce an edible drink which was called as alcohol or ethanol. Like in sometimes like in first century, purer form of alcohol was also tried to be extracted by the process of distillation. So what I will do in this lecture is, yeah, just introduce what is like, we'll have a physical introduction what is an ethanol, and then we'll go through the process of fermentation of ethanol, like what are the raw materials used, different types of raw materials used. This lecture I am little bit giving in detail. You can concise for your exams purpose how much you need, for writing for a 10 marks essay, how much you need, how much you have understood with one process. But in this lecture what I am mentioning is what are the different types of substrates which are used, and how they can be used with two industrial processes, where one is corn based extract production of ethanol, and other is molasses based production of ethanol. So ethanol, you know that it is a primary alcohol chemically. It has a low melting and boiling point, and the characteristic odor. It can nicely mix with water. It's a liquid at room temperature and very volatile liquid. So ethanol as such is used in various processes. You can see in this Venn diagram that this is about the production of ethanol. Ethanol is like you do not use all the substrate raw materials everywhere, like corn, wheat and potatoes are used in US, and Europe commonly uses sugar beets, and some of the developing countries uses cellulose as a starting material. But there are international energy agency has estimated that apart from as beverages, ethanol is can also constitute two-third of the global growth in conventional biofuels and biodiesels, with hydro treated vegetable oil uh, as the remaining part. So global ethanol production was estimated, and it is like approximately equal to 120 billion liter in 2017, and it can reach up to 131 billion liter by 2027. So why this much of need? Ethanol is not just used in biofuels for internal combustion engines. It is also used as solvent in making resins in pharmaceutical industry, cosmetics, household cleaning products, and industrial solvent. It is like a chemical intermediate in these processes. Uh, so I'm mostly concentrating on the production of ethanol using fermentation. So fermentation, like it's an anaerobic process where glucose by EMP pathway gets converted into two pyruvate molecules, and that two pyruvate molecules then get converted into ethanol. So there are different groups of organisms which can do this fermentation process. You have the first group, bacteria, and the second group is the fungi, that is the yeast. Many bacteria can produce ethanol. Ethanol, when you say bacteria producing ethanol, is not just ethanol, it can have other things also with ethanol, like other alcohol, organic acid, polyol, or ketone gases. Examples of species which can produce ethanol are Clostridium species, Sarsinia species, Streptococcus species, and Spirochete species. And extensively used from the ancient days. We know that yeast is the one which can carry out the conversion of glucose to ethanol. So that is the extensively used one. And now you have improvised form of yeast which are used for having a better fermentation capacity. Like organisms, yeast Saccharomyces species are selected, like which can grow fast and have a higher fermentation rate. Suppose you have glucose, that is the starting material, in high concentration, that should not inhibit the formation, the rate of formation of ethanol. So such kind of modified species are selected. And you know that during formation of ethanol there is production of carbon dioxide also, that changes the pH of the fermentation medium. So there are some particular substrains of Saccharomyces species which can tolerate this low pH and also tolerance. And also, and in plants of high yield, they should not affect the fermentation, uh, total yield and recovery. So such criterias are seen, and then subspecies are selected and used in for particular fermentation process. Basically, Saccharomyces species are used in fermentation process. So the kind of raw materials which are used for fermentation process are wide. Like you can take cellulose materials in from anything and break down into glucose and add your yeast, that will definitely ferment the sugar into alcohol. But the major two groups are saccharine containing raw material and starch containing raw material. What is meant by saccharine containing raw material? That means you have the monosaccharides, that is glucose, fructose, and maltose, which can be directly converted into the alcohol, are more in content. Like for example, you take ripe grapes, it has 50% of these monosaccharides in combination, which can be directly used. You need not put any enzyme for converting the starch into monosaccharide and use. Like banana has 30 and 13.8%, pears has 10%, watermelon has 2.5%. So various varieties of fruits can be used directly for as a raw material. Apart from that, molasses, beet or corn molasses, which contain 52 to 55% fermentable sugars, that is the saccharide material, can be used for making the ethanol. So if you use molasses, a ton of molasses can yield 70 to 80 gallons of ethanol. Another source is this cane sorghum, which has 14% fermentable sugar content. Um, here the advantage in molasses is it's a product, byproduct of some process sugar industry. So there you can use that process liquefied material, raw material directly. But in case of cane sorghum, it is in form of grains, and then you have to convert those grains into an extractable format. There little more energy is used up. But if you use a ton of cane sorghum, for 13 to 14 gallons of alcohol recovery has been reported. An additional step of converting those grains into an soluble fermentable form, and at stages where the fermentation require acidification, those are the extra steps which are used in cane sugar sorghum. Apart from that, sugar beet is also used. 15% sugar, and it contains 15% sugar and 82% water. It's so rich in starch. You can just crush the sugar beet and then use it directly for fermentation. A ton of sugar beet will yield 20 to 25 gallons of alcohol. So the next raw material in saccharine group is sugar corn waste, which contains 7 to 15% sugar. This sugar is extracted as same as sorghum. By taking 1 ton of sugar corn, you can get 8 to 18 gallons of alcohol. Okay. And coming to starchy materials, they contain complex carbohydrate, the starchy materials, like example grains. Any mixture of the grains can be like milled, made into powder, or they can be germinated and cooked. And when you do such things, you contain large amount of fermentable material, and that can be converted into alcohol to yield starch. Another most favored starchy material is Jerusalem artichokes. These contain also fermentable materials up to like 18%, a ton of which can yield 25 gallons of alcohols. Here you have to crush the artichokes into pulp, and they are cooked and then cooled down by diluting with water to 80%, and adjusted. The pH is adjusted, and they are used for fermentation. The next source is potato has 15 to 18% fermentable sugar. If you use 1 ton of potato, you can yield 20 to 25% of alcohol, or sorry, gallons of alcohol. You can cook the potato, make it a smash, and then adjust the pH, and then directly use that potato for fermentation. Another source is sweet potato, which contains 27 to 28% of fermentable sugar. A ton of sweet potato can yield 40 gallons of alcohol. The processing way will be almost similar to potato, where you have to cook the sweet potato and then smashes, adjust the pH best for the growth, and use it. Sorry, this I should have removed that slide. Processing steps. Now we will go to the processing step. I'm removing this because I have mentioned two examples in the last which almost tells the same thing. You have processing step. These processing steps and fermentation steps, what I have mentioned here in few slides, further few slides, are general steps. Now you know that starchy materials are mostly favored as the saccharine materials is favored as a starting source. If you use saccharides like molasses and all, they are directly used. You need not have the complex processing step. You just have to filter the coarse materials which are there, and then use the molasses directly. But when you take starch as a starting material, you need to process them, because starch are like either comes from potato or comes from grains or some vegetable, so you need to process them. Mostly favored are grains, because they can be stored for a long time, and you can use at any part of the year. So when you take grains, you have to break down into, those will be dry, so you have to break down into a smaller parts and then allow them to be hydrated. So there are two types of processing, that is sorry there are three types of processing, that is using malting, milling, and cooking. In malting, the seeds are moistened and allowed to sprout, and then these seeds are powdered, and the powder is called as a malt, and that can be used. Apart from germinating, you can also you can mill the dry grains, and the material is ground into fine powder, and the fine powder sometimes creates problem when you are like continuing the fermentation and distillation. These particles are also get carried over. Apart from that, you can prepare a smash, like the starch is liquefied by boiling under pressure to dissolve the water soluble starches, and then they are always done with steam under pressure. That gives a sterilization step also. um, you can use steam under pressure, or you can directly add water, which all later, which can add as a cooling step also. And you can do milling and cooking in one operation without use of water cooked malt is called mash. And during this heating, you know that heating also breaks bonds, so there is conversion happening during heating also. Apart from that heating, enzymes are added like alpha amylase, beta amylase and glucoamylases, where starch is getting converted into fermentable sugars. Like you can see here, beta amylase cuts after every 2 units. Starch is made up of amylose and amylopectin. You know that there is a linear chain and there is branching. I'll not go into detail of that. So you this the when you add beta amylase, it cuts at every maltose units, and when you add alpha amylase, it cuts into single units. And then you can add limit dextrin, which cuts on the branches, and also glucosidase enzyme, which converts into monomers. So finally you're converting, by heating you are breaking down certain bonds. Also you are adding enzymes, you can convert into dextrin or monomer units, and that is ready for fermentation process. There are other methods where you can heat the sample and add dilute mineral acid to convert into monosaccharide. Then the mash is cooled, the pH is adjusted, and then fermentation begins. Usually fermentation is employed at an industrial scale at larger fermentation vessels. This is a batch fermentation where the vessel size may start from 600 meter cube volume, in which you have the fermenter. In a batch fermenter, you know that there should be certain head space, remaining can be your raw material, and 3% inoculum is usually added. If you add 3% inoculum, that is the yeast culture, 12 days it takes to produce 10% ethanol. This process is carried out at 35 degrees to 38 degrees with a pH of 4 to 4.5, which can yield 1.9 gallons of ethanol. 80% cells are removed in separator and brought back into the fermenter as a starter culture. When high quality molasses is used, maximum yield of 95% conversion can be expected. Continuous fermentation is also used in certain cases where nutrient solutions such as molasses is used with ammonium diammonium phosphate as nitrogen source, where pH can be adjusted to 5 and fermentation temperature is 35 degrees Celsius. After fermentation using continuous process, the cells is separated by centrifugation and channeled back into the first fermenter. Product recovery. Now you have the cell biomass, and then might be some particles which are carried over, which are not processed from the raw material, and then you have the product what you require. Generally you can have two types of products. One, it is intracellular, one it is extracellular. I have given examples here of intracellular and extracellular, but our alcohol what is produced will be extracellular, so recovery becomes little simpler. You can allow the cells to get sedimented. Interesting things, and there are ways which you can sediment apart from centrifugation. One is using flocculation. So what is flocculation? Flocculation uh, is a process which will result, by which fine particles are caused to clump together into flocks. Okay, the flocks may then float on the top of the liquid, which we'll call as creaming, or settle to the bottom of the liquid, which we call as sedimentation, or they can be in colloidal form, or they can be in a form which can be filtered easily. You can add flocculating agents to the so to the fermenting medium, like inorganic salts or polyelectrolytes. For example, you can add alginates, carrageen, carboxymethyl cellulose, gum arabic pectin, etc. you can add, and then make the process like separation of cells easier. So and using this, see, flocculation is like a very important step. There are methods by which people have created flocculating strains of Saccharomyces. For example, see, when you have the starting of the fermentation, that means you have maltose, you have more of sugars, and there are certain strains of Saccharomyces which can bind to, which can be inhibited by flocculation when you have more of maltose and sugar units. When as you allow the fermentation process to continue, the flocculation becomes more and more, because the maltose units are not there to inhibit this flocks formation, and then you have the clumping of the cells. So here I have shown one process where the strain Saccharomyces cerevisiae strain, in A, the impellers are working, and then you have proper mixing. As you stop the process, you see all the cells are getting sedimented. Okay. In the B, you can see the sediment formation. So there are strains. This flocculation is very interesting because you have a lot of theories like cell wall charge hydrophobicity or lectin theory, which makes the cells to clump together, or there is a flow1 protein which can makes the like binding of the two. There are certain phenotypes where the flow1 protein, or there can be mannose sensitive phenotypes which can bind to each other and then sediment. So such strains are used in this process of like fermentation, and then that can be an advantage. You need not add extra what say flocculating agents like inorganic salts or poly electrolytes. The strain itself can like from sediment and settle down. Apart from flocculation, you have flotation also, as a process of removing the cells, where you can introduce the gas. The cells gets absorbed to the gas bubbles and raised to form uh, to to the foam layer at the vessel top, which that can be collected and removed from the bioreactor. Apart from that, you can use filtration as a method where filamentous fungi, if you are using for fermentation, they can be separated using depth filters. Like yeah, bacterial cultures also can be separated. Once you have separated the cells, the and the liquid filtrate what it gets separated has the alcohol, and now you can have a mixture of alcohol in it, and the remaining part can be the unused molasses. For example, if it is, there are some sugars can be left on. So now you, the primary thing of next step is product recovery is there are many ways you can do this, but distillation is used where you can use the property of the difference in boiling points of isotopic mixture. Here it is alcohol and water and slight percentage of other things which are carried over during fermentation, and then use the process of distillation and separate. You know that boiling point of water is 100, and the alcohol is 78. This can be used as a property for separation. So here distillation units or distillation pots are used for separating it, industrial scale, where you can have the boiling of the filtrate, and then the at around 78 to 79 you have vapor, more of ethanol coming out, that you can channel it to some condenser, and then you can vapors can be cooled or condensed. The resulting liquid where what is collected, like here you have the receiving flask which gets collected with alcohol. Then you can further distill out and then more concentrated, make it more pure and pure. You can also purify using HPLC or GLC. Basically, HPLC you can, but most preferred process is the distillation. So after this distillation, you can have 95% alcohol directly. So the byproducts of this fermentation process are distillers dried grain with solubles and carbon dioxide, which can be used for the production of dry ice and preparation of soft drinks, yeast biomass, which can be used as animal fodder apart from alcohol. So I'm not mentioning what are the applications of alcohol, because you already know there are various application in healthcare and as a food industry, and then pharmaceuticals. Many applications are there. So now we'll take up two process, one using corn and another using molasses. So corn can, here I'll start with corn. We'll revise the same steps, and then in detail I'll talk about how fermentation is done using two different raw material. Here now I have not put slides. As I tell, I request students to write down the processes, and then whichever you feel comfortable in writing in the exam, please take that and then mention. So using corn, which is like majorly used in US, like you can uh, there are two ways the corn can be used: the wet process and the dry process. The wet milling process is little complicated, and then you have many steps, and the dry grind ethanol generating process is easy. So that is what I have mentioned here. So the first step, as I have mentioned, you can see the corn is taken from the farm, and then you have to separate out everything and then use the corn, dry corn, or like the raw corn. And the first step will be grinding. Hammer mills or roller mills are used for grinding, and then the grinding helps here to break the tough outer coating of the corn kernel, which will increase the surface area of the starch. Once the corn is broken down, it is mixed or slurried with heated water to form mash or slurry. So the next step is, after making a slurry, here you can see that it is cooking and liquefaction. I'll mention both as same. Once the coarse slurry, that is the mash, is made, it goes through cooking and liquefaction. The cooking stage is also called as gelatinization. What happens here is, now when you're cooking, the water interacts with the starch granules in the corn. The temperature, of course, at cooking it will be more than 60 degrees, and when you are starting cooking some starchy thing, what happens, the suspension becomes very viscous. So this viscous, when you are heating, it also thicken with heat. Liquefaction step is actually a partial hydrolysis that lowers the viscosity. It is breaking up of long starch chains into smaller chains. You can measure here also how many monomeric units are formed as you are liquefying in terms of dextrose equivalents, like how much of dextrose, that is the glucose, is there, how much of maltose is there, you can find out. The next is like, see, now when you have starch where water can react with the sugar units, and they with the linkages, and they break down into glucose units. So liquefaction is like a complex process. Not only heat, it can also be accomplished with certain conditions, where the mash pH you have to adjust it to 5.9 to 6.2, and with ammonia and sulfuric acid are added to tank to maintain the pH. One third of the required enzymes are added here, like alpha amylase is added to the mash. And then people do something called as jet cooking, where 2 to 7 minutes at 105 to 120 degrees the mash is heated. And when you do jet cooking, it also serves as a sterilization step to avoid bacterial contamination during fermentation step. There are three different method where you can do the liquefaction. Like the first process what I told is adding alpha amylase into material and incubate at 85 to 95 degrees Celsius, and then that will liquefy. And other method what I already mentioned is the jet cooking method, where you carry out this at 105 to 120 degrees Celsius, and then follow the flow of to a tank at 90 degrees Celsius. Alpha amylase is added 3 hours later. You have to allow the temperature to come down. The third option is like add alpha amylase, heat the jet cooker at 150 degrees Celsius, followed by flow to the flash tank, where it can reduce to 90 degrees. So what basically alpha amylase does is it acts on internal alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds to yield dextrin. Yield dextrin and maltose. Maltose is nothing but two glucose units attached. So beta amylase is generally not added. Beta amylase is also good, but the rate of conversion is low. So industrially alpha amylase is more favored. So the next step is saccharification. The saccharification is a process of making ethanol. Is saccharification. Saccharification is the process of further hydrolysis of glucose monomers. Different enzymes are added, like glucoamylase is added. It's also called as amyloglucosidases. There are wide variety of sources for amyloglucosidases. One example is Bacillus subtilis Bacillus subtilis bacteria can be used to extract this enzyme. And here the pH should be 4.5 and the temperature 55 to 65 degrees Celsius. I'm talking of saccharification. At this temperature you can hold on the mash, and then that will saccharify. There are new hydrolyzing enzymes also which are added, like pullulinase from Bacillus acidopulluliticus, which will act on 1,6 links and they cleave to give straight chain maltodextrins. So now you can mix yeast also into the mash, and then the next step what we call as fermentation is carried out. Fermentation, here now you have monomers of units of glucose and maltose that will be converted into ethanol. So the reaction of fermentation is where like 1 mole of glucose yields 2 moles of ethanol and 2 moles of carbon dioxide. To cause fermentation, you need to add yeast, and that is Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is unicellular fungus, and the fermentation is carried out at 30 to 32 degrees Celsius and 2 to 3 days in a batch process. You should add the nitrogen source, that is ammonium sulfate or urea, to the fermentation process. In industrial processes, for protease is also added to convert proteins into amino acid, which can be used as additional yeast nitrogen. Penicillin is also added during this step because to prevent bacterial contamination. Carbon dioxide produced lowers the pH, which can reduce the contamination risk, but antibiotics is also added into this at this step. Close to 90 to 95% of glucose will be converted into ethanol. There are like fermentation processes where simultaneous saccharification and fermentation is also carried out, which reduces other like conversion steps like cooking, but it has to be optimized. The next step in for industrial fermentation is distillation. It is also the last phase of ethanol production, where you can processing of ethanol to increase the ethanol concentration is done. Usually what they do is distillation. That is like distillation is a process to separate components using heat, and specifically designed towers are there kept where the liquid flowing downwards, and then vapors are generated which flow upwards, and that is like water boils at 100 degrees and ethanol boils at 78 degrees. So these vapors are collected, the condensed, and then like you can check the percentage. You don't get completely get rid of water. You can like there will always be 5% water. If you want 100% pure ethanol, you have to do something called as dehydration. uh, Dehydration is a step where you pass the ethanol into pipes of zeolite. What happens here is zeolite has more affinity to water, and these pipes are made in such a way that the pore size, like the water has a diameter of 0.28 nanometer and ethanol has a diameter of 0.44 nanometer. When you pass through this zeolite like tubes, zeolite attracts the water molecules, and also because of the pore size, water comes out, and then ethanol is retained inside the zeolite sieves, and then that is channeled, and then you get 100% ethanol that can be used as biodiesel and various other processes. But generally after distillation you will have the like 5% ethanol left, 5% water left in 100 and 95% ethanol what is you recover. Like starch, like if you take the economics of this, if you take one like gallon of starch contains 73% of corn contains 73% of starch, 27% of protein and fiber and oil. So that will 1 ton will yield you 2.8 gallons, sorry, 1 bushel of corn will yield you 2.8 gallons of ethanol, and 17 labs of carbon dioxide, and 17 labs of the DDGS, the dried grains and solubles. So you can calculate the economics of this. This is the whole industrial process of making ethanol using starch. Apart from that, you can have molasses also as the method. So it's a complicated arrangement, but we'll go through the steps. Here molasses, when you say cornstarch, we started with what is called as mashing, and then grinding, and then liquefaction, saccharification. But when you take molasses, it's a liquor, and then you have high percentage of monosaccharides. Then we'll just go through these tanks and then see what are the functions of this. Molasses, the first is molasses storage tank. Here molasses, you know, it is a liquor obtained from sugar industries. It's a heavy viscous lipid which contains more sucrose, fructose, glucose at a concentration of 50 to 60 weight per volume. That is passed to something called as sterilization, molasses sterilization tank, where the media is sterilized under pressure and then cooled. Once after this sterilization tank, also yeast cultivation tank is kept, where yeast grows in the presence of oxygen, like the process of budding, and then more yeast is collected. that is the growth tank, and then at the required stage yeast are collected and stored at a pH of 4.8 to 5 at a temperature of 32 degrees Celsius in yeast storage tank. And then molasses, if you need, you can dilute it to a percentage of 15 to 10 to 15. Then yeast and the molasses is mixed in fermentation tank. Here the chemical changes are also brought about by the action of enzymes invertase and zymase secreted by yeast when they are mixed in molasses. Fermentation is carried out, and here the fermentation is like batch fermentation, where you have like heat generated during fermentation can be cooled out by coiled coils of water jackets. And then you have to allow this molasses and yeast mixture to stand for 30 to 70 hours at a temperature of 20 to 30 degrees with a pH of 4.5. If you do this, you will get 8 to 10% of the alcohol, ethanol. So next is the scrubber. Scrubber is like carbon dioxide is released during fermentation as a product. The product like carbon dioxide will vapor. Carbon dioxide also will contain some ethanol due to vapor liquid evaporation and can be recovered by water scrubbing. Water is sent back to continuous diluter stream. Okay, that can be collected from the carbon dioxide what is released. The next is the beer still. Beer still is like once the fermentation is over, next whole fermentation is channeled to beer still, where you can here when you send that will the whole fermentation mixture will contain 50 to 60% of alcohol, and aldehyde is produced here. Slops are removed at bottom as a product. Slop is concentrated by evaporation for cattle feed or discharge as waste, because it contains more of proteins, sugars and vitamins. Next you have the aldehyde still tank, where undesirable volatile liquids aldehyde is taken off from the top of the still. From the side steam, alcohol is fed to decanter. The next is the decanter. Fossil like here the extraction happens, where you get the higher alcohol getting separated from the ethanol solution. The next is rectifying column. In this column, that is now once it comes to rectifying column, it basically has water and ethanol. In this column, azeotropic mixture, that is water and ethanol, are like again heated and condensed, and the side stream where like you pass the steam or heat the whole tank, and then isotropic mixture are separated, maximum separated. Then you have the storage tank. Here where you can store the distilled ethanol. So now you have from the storage tank 95% ethanol can be directly taken out, or you can pass through a mixed tank where you have the denatured alcohol or the dehydrated alcohol which can be extracted. Denatured alcohol can be extracted. Also you can pass through ternary azeotropic distillation, where you can get 100% ethanol. So here I discussed two processes, where using corn in detail and then molasses in brief, how these two raw materials are converted into ethanol. So basically you will have a feedstock where you can mix with water or you can directly use it. mashing is required when you use grains, and then mix with yeast and required enzymes to convert into monomers, and yeast uses those monomers and produce the alcohol is distilled back, and then you can dehydrate it, you get 100% alcohol, or use with water 95% alcohol for required processes. Also you have byproducts or the co-products which are recovered and utilized. So this is the whole process of alcohol production of alcohol at an industrial scale. I request you students to make a short write up for the exam. For example, what is fermentation of alcohol, the general reaction where one glucose unit is converted into two alcohol, and the byproducts. And then what are the organisms which are used, examples of those organisms in terms of bacteria and in terms of yeast, and then what are the advantages of using yeast, and then what are the steps which are important, like the processing steps. Before that, what are the raw materials, substrates you can take, like the saccharin containing, high saccharin containing raw material, or a starchy raw material, or cellulose as raw material. Here I have not mentioned cellulose processing. Cellulose can be processed by mixing the first extraction of cellulose happens from the source, like wood source, for example, and then you treat the cellulose with cellulase enzyme. Once you have the cellulase enzyme breaking down the cellulose, it gives us monomeric units, and then that can be acted with the help of other enzymes and yeast to convert the cellulose, the broken down products into alcohol. But you can mention only starch containing raw materials and saccharin containing raw materials, and then come to the processing step. May not be in detail, but condense it and mention as much as possible how processing steps are carried out. And then you can take one of the examples using molasses or using corn. I prefer corn to be taken. Corn, and what are the different steps you can explain. Finally, after fermentation, how it is distilled out using the property of boiling point, and then how 100% ethanol can be got by removing 100% water molecule using the zeolite sieves. And then you get the byproducts also. You mention in 2-3 lines what are the byproducts which are got from industrial production. Any doubts, you can message me back or email me back and ask. Thank you.